Clint Walker, and you're watching GVTV News.
Thanks, Clint. And I'm Randy Hansen. In today's world news headlines, out of Syria, gun battles rages in Damascus after car bombings killed 27 people. And USID suspect massacre of 16 Afghans as Karzai alleges multiple shooters. And rights group accuse U.S. of sending prisoners to Afghan facilities despite reports of torture. And NYC, Occupy protesters attempt to reclaim Liberty Square. And GOP candidates campaign in Illinois ahead of primary. Romney wins in Puerto Rico. And NATO fails to investigate dozens of civilian killings in Libya, reports Amnesty. And out of Yemen, more than 2,000 killed in year-long protest, U.S. man shot dead. And Palestinian prisoner Hana Shalabi enters 33rd day of hunger strike, and 9/11 tapes released from Trayvon Martin shooting in Florida. And in Wisconsin, Senator's resignation ends Republican majority. And more than 20,000 teachers pink-slipped in California, and Brazilian court bars exit of Chevron Transocean workers as criminal charges prepared. And George Clooney arrested protesting for Sudanese aid access. And East Timorese President Jose Ramos Horta defeated in country's second presidential election. An Indonesia court sentences 5 West Papuan leaders to 3 years in prison. In 2012, Maker detained after reportedly running naked in the streets. And Mike Daisy admits fabrication in play about Apple. And GVTV News would like to say the views expressed on our news broadcast do not necessarily reflect the views of NCTV Digital Media Center. But before these stories, GVTV News would like to thank one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News. In today's first world news story, heavy fighting has been reported in Syrian capital of Damascus as armed rebels battled Syrian security forces. Opposition activists described today's fighting as the most violent gun battles in Damascus since the start of the year-long uprising against President Bashar al-Assad. The fighting comes just 2 days after double-car bombings killed at least 27 people in the heart of the city. Kofi Annan, special joint UN Arab League envoy, warned about the Syrian crisis escalating. He said, "I think we need to handle the situation in Syria very, very carefully. Yes, we tend to focus on Syria, but in miscalculations that leads to major escalations will have impact in the region, which will be extremely difficult to manage. Some people have a tendency to compare it with Libya or the situation, but I believe Syria will be much more complex." The U.S. military has identified Army Staff Sergeant suspected in the gunning down of 16 Afghan civilians, including 9 children. Robert Bales is the 38-year-old man who enlisted in the military after September 11th attacks. His father of 2, who served 3 tours in Iraq. He is being held in solitary confinement in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. In Kabul, Afghan President Hamid Karzai raised doubts that Bales could have carried out the massacre alone. He said, "On the question of the account of one person supposedly who's done this, the story of the village elders and the affectees is entirely different. They believe it is not possible for one person to do that." And his family, pointing to one of the family members, in 4 rooms, people were killed, people and children and women were killed. Then they were all brought together in one room and then put on fire. One man cannot do. Afghan protesters are continuing to call for Bales to be tried in Afghanistan. Jamal Khan said, "We don't want the laws practiced by the Americans and other foreigners. We have the Quran and our Islamic law. U.S. perpetrator must be put to trial according to our laws." In news from Afghanistan, a pair of human rights groups has accused the United States of recently sending at least 11 prisoners to an Afghan prison in Kandahar despite torture allegations at the facility. In October, the United Nations said prisoners were systematically tortured during interrogations at the prison. In New York, Occupy Wall Street protesters attempted to reclaim Zuccotti Park, which they claimed named Liberty Square. Saturday, 6 months after the first Occupy protest occurred. After hundreds gathered peacefully, police used force to clear the park on Saturday night. Occupy Wall Street protesters said, one of them said, the police then began to use the barricades, holding it chest high and pushing people back, beating them back out of the park, off the sidewalks, and then pushing them back across the street onto this sidewalk, pushing people down the process, hitting them in the face. At least 73 Occupy protesters were arrested. In election news, the Republican candidates are campaigning in Illinois ahead of the primary on Sunday. Mitt Romney easily won the Puerto Rico Republican presidential primary. And Amnesty International has accused NATO of failing to investigate the killing of dozens of civilians during its air campaign in Libya last year. Amnesty also called on NATO to provide reparations to the people affected. Donatelli Rovera of Amnesty said victims and relatives of those killed in the NATO airstrikes remain in the dark about what happened and who was responsible. A year ago, U.S. and British forces fired more than 110 Tomahawk cruise missiles, marking the beginning of the 7th month of NATO airstrikes. The Yemeni government revealed Sunday more than 2,000 people have been killed since the anti-government protests began a year ago. The dead include 120 children. The figure is much higher than human rights groups estimated. Meanwhile, a U.S. man named Joel Shrum had been shot dead in the Yemeni city of Taiz, the International Training Development Center in Taiz, and Shrum was an American developer living in Yemen with his wife and 2 children since 2010. And in news from the occupied territories, Palestinian prisoner Hana Shalabi has entered her 33rd day of hunger strike to protest her detention by the Israeli government. She is being held without charge or trial. Shalabi can reportedly no longer stand and has very low blood pressure. Rand Cohen, Executive Director of Physicians for Human Rights Israel, said the situation is of course deteriorating. According to our physicians, she is suffering from muscle atrophy, wasting as well as weaknesses, and she is losing consciousness periodically, and so on. And news from France, a gunman on a scooter opened fire on a Jewish school in the French city of Toulouse earlier last week. Well, earlier yesterday, actually. 3 children and a teacher were killed. And police in Sanford, Florida have released a series of 911 tapes, sorry about my misspoke before, from the night of an unarmed black teenager, Trayvon Martin, who was shot by a self-appointed neighborhood watch captain. The case has caused widespread allegations of racial targeting. 17-year-old Trayvon Martin was visiting his father in a gated community on February 26 when he walked out to a nearby convenience store to buy Skittles and Arizona iced tea. On his way back, he was spotted by the shooter, George Zimmerman, who had been patrolling the neighborhood. After a series of break-ins in 1 911 call, Zimmerman can be heard pursuing Martin. And Zimmerman said, "This guy looks like he's up to no good and he's on drugs or something. It's raining and he's just walking around looking about." The Miami Herald reports Zimmerman had taken it upon himself to patrol the neighborhood and then called the police 46 times since January 2011 to report suspicious activities or other incidents. Police have refused to arrest Zimmerman, saying they can find no evidence to contradict the claim he acted in self-defense. But frantic screaming can be heard in the background of the 911 tape, leading to the family to believe Trayvon Martin pleaded for help before he was shot. Police have said they believe it was Zimmerman calling for help. Florida college students are scheduled to hold a protest outside the Seminole County Criminal Courts to call for Zimmerman's arrest. Trayvon Martin's parents are calling for the FBI to investigate the killing. In news from Wisconsin, the Republicans have lost control of the state Senate following a surprise resignation of Senator Pam Galloway. Galloway was one of the 4 Republican senators facing a recall in June. Wisconsin State Senate is now evenly split 16-16. And in education news, more than 20,000 public school teachers in California received pink slips last week indicating they may not have a job in the fall. More than half of the layoffs occur in Los Angeles. A Brazilian court has barred 17 employees from oil giant Chevron and the rig operator Transocean from leaving the country as Brazilian officials prepare to file criminal charges in connection with a recent deepwater oil spill. Some 110,000 gallons of oil leaked off the shore of Rio de Janeiro in November. Last week, Brazil announced more oil was leaking from cracks on the ocean floor near the offshore Chevron well. And actor George Clooney was among more than a dozen people arrested Friday protesting the treatment of people in Sudan outside the Sudanese embassy in Washington. Protesters attempted to draw attention to accusations the Sudanese government is blocking aid from the southern Kordofan region near the border with South Sudan. Clooney's father and NAACP President Benjamin Jealous was also arrested. Clooney called for the government to stop killing its people. George Clooney said, "Well, thank you for all for coming today. We're here really to ask two very simple questions. The first question is something immediate, and immediately we need humanitarian aid to be allowed into the Sudan before it becomes the worst humanitarian crisis in the world. Immediately. The second thing we are here to ask, it's a very simple thing, is for the government of Khartoum to stop randomly killing its own innocent men, women, and children, stop raping them, and stop starving them. That's all we ask." East Timor's President Jose Ramos Horta has conceded defeat Monday after the country held its second presidential election as a free nation. Nobel Peace Prize laureate was challenged in election by 11 opponents. A runoff between Ramos Horta's top two challengers will be held in April. Opposition leader Francisco Guterres and former guerrilla leader Tar Martin Rauk have been ahead after at least 70% of the votes were counted. An Indonesia court has sentenced 5 indigenous leaders in West Papua to 3 years in prison after being found guilty of treason for advocating independence from Indonesia. Maker of the internet film Kony 2012 calls for the arrest of Ugandan rebel leader Joseph Kony was detained by police and hospitalized in California on Friday. Jason Russell was picked up by police in San Diego after neighbors reported him running naked in the streets, pounding his fists on the sidewalk and shouting incoherently. Creator of The Agony and Ecstasy of Steve Jobs has admitted parts of his monologue about the conditions at Chinese factories used by the computer giant Apple was fabricated. Mike Daisey made the admission after the radio show This American Life retracted an episode featuring Daisy saying it had contained numerous fabrications. While the horrid factory conditions in China are not in question, Daisy admitted that he did not see or interview all the people he claimed to have in his monologue. In recent months, Daisy appeared on numerous news programs, including Democracy Now! And that's it for World News today. Now we'd like to thank one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us. GVTV News.
Soundcheck Music Center, the rock and roll connection. We have guitars, amps, drum equipment, sound accessories, lessons, and repairs. We are located at 671 Maltman Drive, Grass Valley. 530-272-7236, open 7 days a week.
No one needs anyone, they don't even just pretend. John is an American. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't.
That's right, it's time for the police blotter, and pictures in the blotter are not from these actual events, but used for visual aid only, Samuel. Grass Valley Police Department on Thursday, 1:52 p.m., caller from 500 block of East Main Street reported several members of a group had fuel siphoned from their cars. In 2:18 p.m., caller from 1300 block of East Main Street reported a man threatened to kill his manager over a water leak in his bathroom. Contact made with the man was who denied making threats. At 3:07 p.m., caller from 600 block of Wall Street reported a neighbor's horn going on and off all day, every half hour. At 4:14 p.m., caller near intersection of Catherine Lane and Dorsey Drive reported a manhole cover spewing water in the middle of the intersection. In Nevada County Sheriff's Office on Wednesday, 8:17 a.m., A caller from 13,400 block of Highway 49 reported that he was going to kill someone that stole $300 from him and then hung up. And 12:02 p.m., caller from 15,700 block of Annie Drive reported credit fraud after noticing charges on his account at Southern California Walmart. And 2:47 p.m., a caller from 14,700 block of Sky Pine Road reported spraying his drunk son in the face with wasp spray after the son came after the father with a baseball bat. And 8:19 p.m., a caller from 15,600 block of Pine Street reported a tree had fallen into the roadway, took down some power lines, and crushed the caller's vehicle. And that's it for our very short police blotter today. Now we would like to thank another one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News. Christopher's Old World Deli and Catering Company has brought its delicious food and service downtown Grass Valley. Like desserts? They got 'em. You like international style lunches? They got 'em. Christopher's Deli and Catering for parties, get-togethers, weddings, or whatever. Open 7 days a week. In local news headlines, mistrial ruled in animal cruelty case. And Probation Department holds open house. And Waste Management honored for ethics. And gas prices cause havoc. Today's first local story written by Christopher Rosacker of the Union. With jurors split on the felony animal cruelty charges facing Big Oak Valley man, the Nevada County Superior Court proceedings was declared a mistrial on Friday. Louis Silva Jr., a lifelong rancher and former goat leader in 4-H clubs, faced 3 felony counts and 2 misdemeanor counts of animal cruelty. Jurors found Silva guilty of 2 misdemeanors but were split on felony charges, said Nevada County Deputy District Attorney Oliver Pong. A conference will convene March 26 for prosecution and defense to decide whether the DA's office will pursue further felony proceedings or resolve the case, Pong said. Last year, the county's Animal Control Department removed more than a dozen animals from Silva's Patino Road property west of Penn Valley after being called out on March 15th for a dead llama. The officers testified Thursday that they found a number of animals in poor condition and no food or water. One llama was euthanized the following day. Silva's attorney, Stephen Munkelt, argued that a series of unfortunate personal circumstances culminated in a perfect storm that led to authorities finding the livestock in such conditions. Munkelt argued that Silva's error did not constitute criminal conduct. Pong argued Munkelt's characterization was nothing but an excuse for neglect. Munkelt said the jury vindicated his client's decision not to accept an earlier offer by the district attorney's office to plead guilty to a felony in exchange for a lesser sentence. The reaction from the animal advocate community is mixed, said Kathy LaBelle, the director of the Coalition of Animal Welfare and Support, in a statement. While we applaud DA Newell's prosecution of this case and the excellent job they did, we're disappointed that Animal Control did not do a better job with their investigation, which made it difficult for the jury. 2 guilty verdicts on the misdemeanors were welcomed, and we hope that Mr. Newell will retry the felonies, and with our input and assistance, we feel that there may be a better outcome for justice for those animals who suffered and died. The Nevada County Probation Department will hold an open house for a New Day Reporting Center. Meet probation staff involved in the program and learn how the department is applying evidence-based practices to reduce offenders' recidivism and help clients take control of their lives. The open house will be from 4 to 6 p.m. Wednesday at the Probation Department. Snacks and beverages will be served. Probably not many clients going to show up, but it might be interesting. Waste Management, Inc. has been recognized by Ethisphere Institute as one of the 2012 world's most ethical companies for the 5th year in a row. Waste Management has contracts to haul garbage and recyclables in Grass Valley, Nevada City, and Western Nevada County. Honor came for implementing and maintaining business practices and initiatives that are instrumental to the company's success, benefit of the community, and raise the bar for ethical standards within the industry, officials said. It is an honor to be recognized by Ethisphere for our strong corporate cultural and value ethics, diversity, and sustainability, said David Steiner, Chief Executive Officer and President of waste management. I believe it is our responsibility to make positive change for the environment and for society. Ethosphere reviewed hundreds of companies and evaluated a record number of applications using in-depth research and multi-step analysis. The 2012 list features companies in more than 36 industries, including 40 companies headquartered outside the United States. We have worked long and hard to build a corporate culture on value ethics, employee engagement, and sustainability, said spokesman Justin Caporuso, based in Sacramento. They do a great job up here. I like them. In a story written by Matthew Renda of the Union, Nevada County resident Desiree Oaks Sharp would like to obtain teaching credentials at California State University, Sacramento, but gas prices have put a hitch in her immediate plans. Sharp escalation in the price of gallon per gas has caused Sharp to alter her education plans to incorporate getting a medical technician's license through Sierra College. She hopes that this will help her obtain a part-time job to fund her commute to Sacramento. The pinch put on the pocketbooks has grabbed national headlines and is felt particularly by California residents. Golden State's average for a gallon of regular unleaded gasoline is $4.36, up 51 cents since February 14th, according to the AAA insurance. In Northern California, the prices have climbed 50 cents, while the national average hovers at $2.81, representing a 30-cent jump from last month. During this current run up in gas prices in our area, my two automobiles have found a warm spot in the garage in my home, said Martin Mortensen, a retired county resident. As a retired senior citizen on a fixed income with the price of a gallon over $4 in Nevada County, our cars do not see much in the way of outdoor scenery anymore. Mortensen advocated that more domestic drilling, so the United States is not so beholden to foreign energy markets. AAA insurance spokesperson Matt Skyra said investors' buying activity is the dominant influence on the price push. Recent positive economic indicators in the United States and Europe have inspired investors to buy more oil and gas futures, which have helped to push up the price of oil and gas, he said. Skyra said forecasts indicate that slow Chinese economy and easing tensions with Iran will help ease the price of oil, promising some short-term relief at the pump. Recent price jumps sent the demand of gasoline spiraling downward as the United States consumed 8.3 million barrels per day, lowest figure since March 2001. And that's it for local news today. Now we'd like to thank we'd like to thank the Union and Amy Goodman Reuters and Associated Press and others for the sourcing of our news, and you for watching. You can watch this broadcast on Comcast Cable, NCTV, Channel 11 in Nevada County, 8 a.m., 3 p.m., 7:30 p.m., and Monday through Friday, and Sudden Link Channel 16 in Truckee and Alto Sierra. We're also streamed on internet at NCTV's Digital Media Center website at nevadacountytv.org and gvtv.org. And don't forget Grass Valley Television that plays 24/7 on the net at grassvalleytelevision.com. We post to Facebook, YouTube, blip.tv, and many other sites, and have RSS feed and video podcast on iTunes. Just search under video podcasts for GVTV News. Content is controlled by the producer of this newscast, me, and Grass Valley Television is not necessarily the opinion of NCTV Digital Media Center. Grass Valley Television also videotapes local events around Nevada County, and if you have want more information, Grass Valley Television, gmail.com, or 362-8889. This show produced by Grass Valley Television of Rural Counties Television Network, and we'll talk to you tomorrow, should be Wednesday.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Drew Pearson. We bring you this special radio television broadcast in order to give you the very latest information on an amazing phenomenon, the arrival of a spaceship in Washington. The Army has taken every precaution to meet any emergency which may develop. Just a minute, ladies and gentlemen, I think something is happening.